I'm here today to show off a couple of custom Ancient Warriors cards that I've created. I think it'd be a really fun thought experiment to brainstorm and see, what if these cards were real? What if we could add them into the deck and expand the deck's potential even higher? So there's so many heroes and villains from Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and right now with the current archetype, we only have a fraction of them. Just a small portion. And if we can show off even more of them, I think that'd be an amazing way to show some appreciation for Romance of the Three Kingdoms and this extremely cool archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! So for all these cards, I tried to give some kind of historical reference to them, some kind of interesting historical effect in them, because I think that's one of the most interesting things about the Ancient Warriors cards. There's something in them that references who they were in the story, in the history. For example, I think Lu Feng is the best example of this. Lu Bu himself. In the game, he betrays you if your opponent has something stronger than you. And of course, this is a reference to the real person, Lu Bu, who betrayed so many of his allies, and this is what got him executed at the end. So I wanted to include something in there. I tried to make it kind of flavorful, kind of interesting. So let's see what I created. So the first one I have to show you is Ancient Warriors, Vayne Yuan Chao. So this is Yuan Chao. This is Cao Cao's arch nemesis, his rival. And all of the Ancient Warriors have the same naming convention. So it's going to be Ancient Warriors, an adjective that describes them. Yuan, so that's going to be his last name. And then Chu, which is the second half of his courtesy name. So, what is a courtesy name? A courtesy name is not used anymore, but basically it's kind of like a professional name. Something more formal that other people would call you by. So, for example, Cao Cao, his courtesy name was Meng De. So, people would only call him Cao Cao if you were really close to him. Otherwise, you would probably call him Meng De. So, that's why in the game, the card of Cao Cao is Ambitious Cao De. So, De is, of course, the second half of his courtesy name. So, Yuan Shao's courtesy name is Ban Chu. So, there you go, Yuan Chu. Let's take a look at his effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by banishing 2 Ancient Warriors monsters from your graveyard. You can only special summon Ancient Warriors, Vayne Yuan Chao, once per turn this way. When this card is special summoned, banish 1 random card face down from your opponent's hand. You can only control 1 Ancient Warriors, Vayne Yuan Chao. If this face-up card will leave the field, banish it instead. So my thinking for this card was to utilize some of the cards in the graveyard that Ancient Warriors inevitably has. So there's a couple of the cards in the archetype that can recover them and add them to the hand and stuff, but I don't think they're very good. I would like something to utilize them even better, and what better way than to have a boss monster like Yuan Chao. So after you link summon or something, you could summon Yuan Chao for even more follow-up plays. And when he's special summoned, you can rip a card from your opponent's hand face down. So maybe this could get rid of an Ash Blossom or a Nibiru or something kind of important to the opponent's strategy, just to give the Ancient Warriors another edge, when they're fighting. And in history, Yuan Chao, he was very rich. He was from a prestigious clan, the Yuan clan. So many of his family were famous. They did amazing things. But for his generation, him and his younger brother, Yuan Shu, they basically ruined the family with what they did. And after Yuan Shao's death, his sons would squabble over his lands, and this basically destroyed the Yuan family forever. So that's why he's vain. He didn't really listen to advice. He only listened to, bad advice, or didn't take advice at all. So even though he had such an enormous advantage, he had money, he had power, he had the prestige from his clan, and a lot of soldiers, of course, he still lost to Cao Cao at the Battle of Guandu, which basically ruined him. And he would die a couple years later, depressed and unsuccessful, knowing how badly he lost at the Battle of Guandu. So, that's why when he leaves the field, banish him instead. He doesn't want to go to the graveyard with the other Ancient Warriors cards. He's too good for them. Banish himself, never to be seen again. So I think this would be a really fun way to add another boss monster to the deck. He has 2,900 attack. That's 100 less than Cao Cao, who has 3,000. That's just another cheeky reference to how Cao Cao beat him at Battle of Guandu. And I think he'd be a really fun addition to the deck. I would definitely play him. Maybe just one copy, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the next one. Now we're moving on to our first female. Some female representation in the Ancient Warriors lineup. And what better person than Swan Run, or here I named her Impassioned Swan Yang. So I couldn't find a courtesy name for her, but I chose Yang because that means sun in Chinese. And she's very famous for being a very fiery woman, very fiery person, and very passionate about what she does. And Swan Run is the name that you might see in the Three Kingdoms video game, Total War 3 Kingdoms. But in the Dynasty Warriors games, her name is Swan Shangxiang. So, here I chose something kind of different to represent her, but let's take a look. So if you control a Wind Ancient Warriors monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Ancient Warriors Impassioned Swan Yang once per turn this way. Monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack or defense for each different Ancient Warriors monster with different attributes you control. Once per turn, during the end phase, if you control Ancient Warriors Virtuous Liu Xuan, while this card is face up on the field, inflict 500 damage to your opponent's life points. So, Swan Yang, this is Swan Mo's little sister, the youngest of the Swan family kids. So the Swan kids are going to be Swan Ce, her older brother, Swan Mo, and that's going to be her last. So she's one of the children of Swan Jian, who is a very powerful warlord from the south. And she was a very interesting person that was used to secure the alliance between Wu and Shu. And of course, Wu and Shu, they teamed up for a time against the Kingdom of Wei, most famously at the Battle of Chibi, when the alliance annihilated Cao Cao's forces. And this is referenced in the card Ancient Warrior Saga, Swan Lu Alliance. That's the alliance between the Swan clan and the Kingdom of Wu, with the Kingdom of Shu and Liu Bei. So, Swan Yang, if you control a Wind Ancient Warriors monster, you can special summon it. And of course, that is a reference to the alliance between Wu and Shu, and all of the Ancient Warriors that are winds, like Guan Yu and Zhang De, they are from the Kingdom of Shu. So, since she is allied with them as part of a political marriage, then she can special summon herself. So if you have one of the Wind Ancient Warriors cards, special summon her and get another body on the board. I tried to give her a battle effect because, once again, she was a pretty fiery person and she was, very passionate about what she did. She had female guards that attended to her every need and they would help her with many of her duties. So I tried to do some kind of battle effect with her. I wanted to use something about the different attributes for the Ancient Warrior cards. There's surprisingly not as many battle effects as I thought with the Ancient Warriors, since, they are, Chinese warriors. But I tried to give her like a Sky Striker Shizuku battle effect, making your opponents weaker and your cards able to beat over them more easily. And, but if she was real, I really don't think most people would use her for the battle effect. I think they would use her for the free special summon. So for example, you could special summon her after Liu Xuan or Zhang De or something, and then follow up into the Double Dragon Oath, the Double Dragon Lords. So I think that would be kind of interesting. But at the end, if you choose to use her in the battle, then she'd be a decent addition to the deck. And here's a little fun thing about her at the end. Once per turn during the end phase, if you control Liu Xuan, who is her husband, right, Liu Bei, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent's life points. So just a little reference to her marriage to Liu Bei. And fun fact, Liu Bei was actually kind of terrified of her and kind of intimidated by her, but he tried to kind of keep his distance from her. But in the game, right, and in the stories, they have a very good relationship. and it's a good way to secure the alliance between Shu and Wu. So that's the second Ancient Warriors card I have for you. Finally, we have Ancient Warriors Merciless Gongson Gui. So you guys probably don't know him as well. He's not as famous as the other Dynasty Warriors characters. I don't believe he's in the game as a unique character. But this is Gongsun Zan. He's actually one of my favorite characters to play as in Total War 3 Kingdoms, which is a game I played a lot. And he is a warlord who is situated in the northeast, in the far northeast territories of China. And basically his job is to protect the border. And he was very good at his job. So nomadic tribes would attack from the north and he would repel them and defend China's border. So let's take a look at his effect. You contribute one Ancient Warriors monster, special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Ancient Warriors Merciless Gongson Gui once per turn this way. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Ancient Warriors monster from your graveyard to your hand. If this card battles a warrior or beast warrior monster, banish that card at the end of the damage step. Once per turn during the end phase, if you control Ancient Warriors Vayne Yuan Chao, destroy this card. So this is another way to get a body on board to tribute an Ancient Warriors card, so I think that'd be an interesting addition to the deck. I wanted to have some kind of recovery from the graveyard because for the Ancient Warriors, once the card is in the graveyard, it's probably not going to be used again because once again, the cards that do utilize the graveyard right now are like pretty bad. So this is slightly better, I think. You can add another card from the graveyard to your hand. And I made this kind of in conflict with Yuan Chao's effect on purpose because they were rivals. They were nemesis. And, you know, Yuan Chao banishes cards from the graveyard to special summon himself, and Gongsun Gui has to grab another card from the graveyard to the hand. So that's kind of like the opposite, trying to reference their rivalry. And Gongsun Zan, Gongsun Gui, he was part of the original alliance against Dong Zhuo, and Yuan Chao was the leader of that alliance. The alliance wasn't very effective, to be honest, and after the alliance fell apart, Gongsun Zan went back to his territory. And he would ally himself with Yuan Chao, who is Yuan Shao's little brother, during their conflict. And he would basically attack from the northeast and get territory and advantage there and try to stop Yuan Chao and try to take him down. But Yuan Chao was definitely a little bit better than him in this regard. He had a lot more territory, a lot more land. He was much more well-liked. And he was able to beat back Gongsun Zan eventually. So, if this card battles a warrior or beast warrior monster, banish that card at the end of the damage step. So another battle effect for the Ancient Warriors to use. And I chose to add this in because, once again, his job was to protect China's border from northern tribes. And if you can see in the picture, he's riding a beautiful white horse. And this is actually one of the famous things that he did. So, as part of his soldiers, he had a group of cavalry, elite cavalry, who only rode white horses. And the reason he did this is because the people that he was fighting, they viewed white horses as sacred and as beautiful and as these holy elements. So these people would be afraid to attack the horses because, this is what they worship. They find them so beautiful and, you cannot hurt them. So he used this to his advantage to beat back the invaders in the border. And, this is why he has a battle effect that would destroy, or banish, warriors or beast warriors. So this kind of references his historical job as like a border security for the northeast. And of course, during the end phase, if you control Vayne Yuan Chao, destroy this card, because the way he died is quite brutal, actually. So Yuan Chao, he laid a trap for Gongsun Zan, and he basically tricked him to leaving his fortress and coming out to meet with reinforcements, but that was Yuan Chao waiting for him. So he tricked him into thinking that his reinforcements had come, but it was just a trap. So after he fought his way back into his fortress, he realized that there was absolutely no way out of the situation. No help is going to come. And he basically killed his whole family and then killed himself. So that's how he died, after killing his whole family. So that's why he can't stand himself. If Yuan Chao is on the field, he is going to destroy himself. So that's something kind of fun I wanted to add into the card. So those are the 3 cards I have to show for you today. Please let me know if there are any other characters that you want me to add. I have quite a few more that I've made, and I'll be making some future videos about them. So please look forward to them, and I hope you guys enjoyed. All right, thanks a lot. See you later.